Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Outside of movement and aim, spawns is the number one thing you need to make sure you're doing correctly and controlling correctly to be that really good ranked play player. Whether you're on hardpoint and you've managed to set up for a hill, you need to understand where to block, where to push out to cut the map to really get most of that hill time. On the flip side of that, on control, the other respawn game mode we have within ranked play, knowing how to spawn trap an enemy and knowing how to get out of spawn traps can be really effective, and the best way to do that is to understand how the spawns work. Now, both of those things are going to matter whether you're in Crimson, we're looking to get into Iridescent, or whether you're in Gold, looking to get into Plat. It's going to be important. Things like movement and aim can take a while, even years, to improve and really perfect, whereas understanding spawns and reading a couple of guides to make sure you know spawns can be a really quick change that can really heighten the level of your gameplay. Now, obviously, understanding spawns can take a lot of time. It takes multiple ROD reviews, theory testing, private match against bot lobbies, and my job is to hopefully make sure that you have to do as little as that as possible, and I provide you the services and the guides and the theories to save you from doing all of that legwork. So today's video, we're going to be going through a couple of rules you need to just think about and in what you need to know before trying to understand the spawns. And we're also going to be going at how you can use the guide that is down below, completely free to use, to your most advantage, enabling you to understand the spawns better. So the couple of things I want to mention before we get into that guide and how you can use the guide to the best of your ability. Going to be covering, just as I say, a couple of rules that the spawns use that you need to be aware of. So the first things first is the spawn is decided at the exact point that player spawns in. It doesn't look at when the player dies, it doesn't look at when the teammates are around. It literally takes just as a player's about to spawn in, it goes, what's the situation? And it uses that information at that precise moment to determine that spawn. That's that. Second thing is the spawns are not squad spawns. Your position on a map has very little influence on where your team spawns. 95% of the time, the enemies will determine where one of your teammates will spawn. So sitting in the back, waiting for your teammates to spawn on you isn't going to happen unless the enemies are the other side of the map. You really need to understand the enemy's position to understand your spawns. As I say, the enemy's position is what influences the spawns of your team. Generally, the game will look to spawn the next player to spawn in at the safest possible spawn, and that's generally the logic the game follows. If you ever read any patch notes, it will always say about making the spawn safer, and that's pretty much what it means. And then finally, once we've gone through today's video and you feel like you understand spawns, quiz yourself. Go and watch a CDL match. The VODs are completely available on the Call of Duty League channel. Have a look at those and play a little bit of a guessing game. Look at the things and look at the minimap on the bottom left and guess where the next player is going to spawn in based on the enemy's positioning. And just understanding that and quizzing yourself and using the guide, and that will really enhance your ability to understand the spawns. Before we get into this, you guys are probably well aware of this ranked play guide. As I say, the link to this is down in the description. It's completely free. But this is how you can, first of all, learn spawns. So let's take an example. I'm on Skyline Hardpoint, as you say. Take a look at Skyline Hardpoint Spawn Guide, page 47. Let's have a quick gander at 47. And here you have the Hardpoint Spawn Guide for Skyline. Now, before getting into this, obviously, you've got screenshots at the top which give you an overlay of the spawn diagrams. But then you've got every hill broken down, a little bit of info. It gives you general information, how to block. There's different scenarios depending on where you're spawning and what that means, and then just a little bit of a strategy. And it's always worth reading this before you go into it. But once you've read this a couple of times and you're happy with it, all you need to have is this. So when I was first learning spawns in this game, I would have this up on my second monitor or on my phone, and every time we're at the new hill, just quickly glance. And because I've read all the information below and I've got enough reps in the game, all I need are these diagrams is to understand the spawns, and I know exactly where I need to be coming from. And as long as you remember the things I've read out, you know, the spawns are decided based on the enemy's positions. The game will look to spawn you at the safest location most of the time. Then this is going to be really helpful. And just having this alongside you when you're playing the game will benefit you more than you can ever imagine. And then, as I say, once you understand the spawns, once you've played a couple of reps, watch a CDL match in your free time and just guess where the next spawn's going to be and see if you can get it right and really test yourself. So we're going to be looking at the gameplay we've just had a little bit of a snapshot of at the beginning, and just coming back to this guide and saying how I'm using these guides here to influence where I think the enemies are going to be spawning. So let's head back to the gameplay. We're a little bit into it, but I'm not going to rewind it. And let's take a look at what's going through my mind as I'm playing and how I'm using those spawn guys to determine what's going on in the map. So I've just spawned piano, which is a really interesting spawn. P3 is active, so I look at the P3 here. Now, from here I can see the two main spawns are blue and pink, because that's what they are on these guides, and I know I haven't spawned either of them. Now, because I've spawned here, it means these three spawns are close enough to the enemy for the game not to want me to spawn there. So I know there's going to be an enemy pushed out this left-hand side a little bit. I know there's going to be an enemy pushed towards this right-hand side, otherwise they'll have spawned here. But generally, spawning here tells me that this is blocked, and this is blocked. So it essentially tells me there's enemies pushed a little bit this side of P3, enemies pushed this side of P3, and there's probably enemies coming off a spawn. And I can really use that knowledge to my benefit. And that's how you would use that guide. You just glance over, take a look, and really use that to your advantage. So there's 15 seconds left of the game now. I've spawned close, which tells me that the enemies no longer have the control of this backside here. My teammates are pushing through, which is quite an interesting play, and I can see they're pushing through the map. But we're already looking to flip the spawns here. So because my teammates managed to get through and players have died, I'm instantly turning around because I'm aware I've just released this spawn, and my teammate was going around the side, so that the chance of an enemy spawning behind me were quite high. So again, moving on to P4, just have a little glance at this map, at this diagram here. You can see there's three main spawns back here, but then you've got an alternative spawn barbecue and an alternative spawn near the tree. So that's what I'm bearing in mind. And if you want to block a tree, you need to be out this right-hand side of the map. And if you want to block barbecue, you can be on this left-hand side of the map. And that's what I'm going to have in my head throughout this entire P4. So you can see here, I'm the only one blocking. I'm taking that as my job. My teammates just spawned in, got a trophy around the hill, and I'm just making sure my teammates can't get flanked. I'm being the person blocking this spawn so the enemies can't spawn in. And I'm using the guide, and I know that. I'm not using the guide, obviously, played in this gameplay because I already know it, but that's how you would use it going forward. And having it on your phone just ready to use is going to be really, really helpful to those of you who are new to understanding spawns and things like that. So I know that players just come around the back, and the fact that I've spawned all the way over here tells me there's enemies in this block zone, okay? And that's all that tells me. The fact I've spawned here rather than back here tells me the enemy are here somewhere, okay? And my teammates are doing good jobs at getting the kills. My teammates have then also got control of the backside of time, and my teammate has just spawned in. Now that tells me the enemies can't spawn here because I've got teammates here. The enemies can't also spawn barbecue because of where I'm positioned. I'm in this kitchen zone, which is blocking this barbecue spawn. So that tells me the enemies are spawning tree. Now, what route are they going to take from tree to get to P4? It's either through top or through P1. So that's why I now position myself like this, looking left, because I know I've got parallel spawns to where the enemies are going to be coming from. So now we're in a real nice setup where I've got teammates blocking the pink spawns all the way back here. I'm blocking the barbecue spawns by being in this kitchen island thing. And now all I need to know is the enemies are now spawning here, which means they're either coming top or they're coming right into my line of sight, like so. And just knowing those spawns and understanding that spawn system just enables me to get some really free kills without the enemies even understanding that's what I'm doing. Now, going into P1, because P1 is next. These are the wrong way around, bizarrely. But P1 is next. And I know the better spawns for P1 are this left-hand side spawns because of how close they are to P2. So I'm just going to scroll up so you can see this fully. Now, I am fully aware that I want these spawns. So after getting a couple kills on the kitchen, I'm pushing around because I want those better spawns for P2. And because I know the enemies were spawning in that area, I'm being a little bit cautious. You can see I was pre-aiming around that corner because I know the enemies might have been spawning there. Now, P1's active, and you look at the 4 spawns on Skyline's a pretty easy map to read. The 4 main spawns are the 4 corners of the map, okay? So I'm happy that we've got these 2 spawns. The enemies are likely spawning at this one or this one, depending on where my team are. Don't forget, the enemy spawns are based on your team's locations. So I noticed my teammates are spawning in behind me, which tells me there's not an enemy our side yet. Otherwise, my teammates would have spawned out. They've also spawned back left, which tells you there could be enemies around the kitchen zone. Okay, spawning here tells me enemies might have pressure towards kitchen. And again, once you understand these spawns and once you think you've got the knack of it, honestly, watching a CDL VOD can be really, really important. Just, you know, playing like a little bit of a quiz with yourself. Now, notice my teammate spawned out, which tells me the enemies have got decent control of the P2 side of the map. And we've spawned out. Now, spawning here simply tells me the enemies have got control of the left-hand side. Okay, that's pretty much all I know from this spawn. See if we can get through here a little bit. There we go. So this is an interesting hill. So P2 like this, again, you've got the four corners of the map based on, you know, where people can spawn. Now, naturally, when you have P2 control, you're going to be blocking this spawn most of the time. And the ideal situation is obviously to have the enemies the other side. And obviously, all these things I'm saying are in these descriptions down below, which you can read obviously if you want. But that's why I say understanding it and reading it at the first point enables you to understand these maps really, really easily. So again, I'm looking, my players just died, my teammates just died. Let's see where they spawn. They're spawning with me, which is really, really good. It means the enemies aren't pushed through piano side. As you can see, if my teammates spawn tree with me, it means the enemies aren't piano, because otherwise that would be blocking that. Also tells me the enemies aren't have got control of the other side of the map, otherwise my teammates would have potentially flipped. But me just staying alive around this zone pretty much spawns the enemies all the way out. By the way, on this gameplay, I think I go 51 and 22 or something like that. Okay, now this is a really important place to understand spawns, because there's 3 enemies down, which means there's 3 enemies spawning up at some point. Now, based on where my teammates are, I'm going to presume the enemy is going to be spawning here or here. It's the safest spawn for them to spawn at. Teammates have got the back steps, which means it's unlikely for them to spawn tree or sofa. So now I'm going, right, they're spawning at one of these 2 spawns. I need to get between the objective and these 2 spawns. So that's what I try and do here, which is what you'll see now. So I'm trying to get some kills, trying to look for the enemies. I can't see anyone P1, which means they're probably all kitchen side. So as we start to progress with P2 active, as we start to progress towards these 2 spawns, chances of the enemies now spawning over here or here have heightened quite considerably. Now, going into P3, I would prefer to have these right-hand side spawns because of how good they are for P4, which is why you can see I'm playing towards this left-hand side. So the fact that me and my teammate have got control of this bedroom side of the map is increasing the chances of the enemies spawning all the way out over here. Now, to guarantee the fact that the enemy spawn here, we need to maneuver around the way of the spawn and make sure we've got both this ring and this ring both blocked. That will guarantee the enemies are going to be spawning here or here, and that's what we're trying to do. That's the goal. So unfortunately, my teammate died in the back, but that's absolutely fine. I'm just trying to play my life, see if I can get at least a kill. Unfortunately, I do get picked off in the back, but it's fine. Okay, we've spawned here. This means the enemies have got control of this right-hand side, which we already know. So some spawns are obvious, okay? Lucky kill. Okay, my teammate continued to spawn here. Again, when you've got a little bit of downtime, knowing that teammate spawned here tells you that the enemies are still spawning this right-hand side. Teammate spawned here, enemies are still here. Okay, it's quite simple. Okay, now I want to flip the spawns. I want to flip the spawns because I want these good spawns for P4. How do I flip the spawn? First of all, I need to be in the block spot for these 2 zones. So I need to be backside of this area to make sure the enemies can't spawn fire or long. Now that's what I'm trying to do. I've got teammates on the hill time. If I can get my way, this is what's happening in my head. If I can get my way through P4 into this back spawn, any kills we get, any kills my teammates get are going to spawn all the way out over here in one of these 2 locations, because I've blocked these 2 spawns. And that's what I'm doing. This is what my tactics are now. And just like that, my team's spawning behind me, the enemies are spawning in front. A real nice flip, just because I moved around the map to block these 2 spawns. Enemies are now spawning sofa. Now, what's unfortunately happened now is my teammate has left the block spot and have left that completely open, which increases the risk of the enemy spawning in. So I decide to run back. But then my teammate does it anyway, so I leave them to it.
We've claimed the advantage. Now hold it. Hardpoint located.
Now, what's really interesting here is my teammate has just spawned out. If you watch the minimap here, I'm always glancing at the minimap. Every time I have a little bit of time, anytime I'm manting, I've got a half a second to look at the minimap, and I can see my teammates just spawned out. Now, at this point, P3 is still active. So P3 is still live, so these spawns are applicable. The teammates just spawned back sofa, which tells me the enemies are close enough to these 2 spawns to block it. So I know I need to be very careful. There's enemies near me. And there they are. Unfortunately, I just got caught a little bit off guard because of where I was positioned. But that's fine. You get the gist of it. Now, P4 is active. We've spawned in. Thought I got shot from this side. And I'm playing for this spawn. Now, because my teammate is pushed quite far out, again, P4, he's sort of in the position I was in the first P4. I need to make sure that I'm completely blocking here. And that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to make sure I'm blocking, my teammate can then get the kills they need to pushed out, and then, you know, happy days. Now this person there should have progressed down that stairs and stopped me from spawning in. The fact that they didn't push this staircase has allowed me to spawn in, and that was a really, really rookie error on their part. Again, we're continuing to get the kills. I'm now pushing through the hill. I know they're spawning back left because my teammates have got the backside controlled, and my teammates are also starting to push out P1, so I know they're going to be spawning all the way back to barbecue. So it makes it really easy for me to get these kills. Unfortunately, I die. I could have got that kill. That would have been a nice kill cam.
Hardpoint active. Hardpoint is secure.
So P1 is active here. It's fairly 2-dimensional. You either spawn out or in. It's quite easy for P1 because it's a symmetrical hill, but it should be self-explanatory now what's happening here. But having that spawn guide up on your other monitor or your other TV or on your laptop or on your phone or something makes it really easy to understand the spawns, and you won't need it eventually. Okay, after a few repetitions on that same map mode combo, you will know spawns most of the time just like that, and that will really benefit you. As I say, it's a lot easier to improve your spawn knowledge than it is to suddenly improve your ability to shoot straight, and suddenly improve your ability to maneuver around the map quickly. Yeah, as long as you can use your head, you'd be fine. So you can see what I'm doing now is I'm blocking the back spawns for P2 whilst P1's active. I want these back spawns. So for me to get these back spawns, I need to make sure that my teammates are getting kills whilst I'm blocking this area. That will spawn the enemy all the way out, meaning that we're going to be able to set up for P2 really easily. And again, those guides I've set up by watching a lot of VODs, by playing a lot of games, by putting a lot of my theories into practice in bot lobbies, in actual rank play games. And unless you're willing to do that yourself, this is the best thing you've got. And that'll take time. Doing that yourself, trust me, takes time. So we go into the map, we're spawning out. It tells us the enemy's basically got control of the other side of the objective, which, as you guys probably already know, that's quite a simple spawn. Teammate managed to get a really good couple of kills. And now we're looking pretty good. So my teammates, this position is quite nice. So P2 is active. We've got control of these 2 left spawns, which means the enemies are either spawning back left or back right. So and my teammate being kitchen heightens the possibility that the enemies are coming from back left. And coming from back left means they're easy to jump up to the top, which is why I'm picking up the top. But we're in a real nice position. We start to rotate to P3. And again, because I know where the enemies are spawning, because I've got teammates around this left-hand side, I know I'm blocking this right-hand spawn here because I can literally, it's just to my right. I know the enemies are spawning bedroom, which means they're going to be likely coming from this direction, which is why I'm sort of positioned here. I'm not too worried about my right unless an enemy wraps back around the spawn, chows my right here. Because I know my teammates are blocking these two left spawns, I'm blocking this right spawn. The enemies are going to be spawning back left, like bedroom sort of area. I know I can get on this head glitch and look this direction. And that is why reading spawns is so important. Because it enables you to just really, really set up super effectively on these objectives. Obviously, you still need to win the gunfights, but it's about making those gunfights easier. So there's the gameplay. I'll go 51 and 22. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it useful. And make sure you check out that rank play guide down below. As I say, completely free. Do what you want with it. Share it with your mates. And let me know if you want me to try and make any improvements if you notice any. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.